Hello, I was going to say good evening. Good morning, everybody. How we doing on this fine Friday? Happy Friday, everyone. Alicia, Andrea, good morning. Michelle, good morning. Vivian, good morning. It's 2023. I can't lie, guys. I always share how my day is going. Some days it'll be like, oh, woke up, kicked light in the butt, got my prayer in, got my, confessions in, got my run in. I forgot to set an alarm last night, and I was up watching the football game late, that gross football game with, Derek Carr playing quarterback worse than I would if I was out there. And I just forgot to set an alarm. You guys know how that goes sometimes. And when you're sleeping and you're like, man, I'm getting too good of sleep and it's been too long. Normally I'm up at 6:15. We'll go back to get things together. Not every single day is perfect, but what's important is that you continue to persevere, right? Despite what happens. So just do what's necessary to get your mind right, right? Also understand what circumstances you are carrying with you into the market and then execute based off of that. You don't want to say, all right, I just rolled out of bed, time for me to start firing off, right? If I see opportunities that are worth it, for sure. But give yourself the time, give yourself the grace, and make sure you have the responsibility enough to get into the headspace to execute, right? Execute correctly and effectively, and make great decisions. So happy Friday. Just wanted to, kind of share. You guys know you have good days, you have bad days. I won't call this a bad day. It was just kind of a curveball, right? A curveball thrown into the circumstances of the morning, but one that we persevered through anyway. So good morning, everybody. Paul, Coco, Sharon. We had an amazing Q&A last night. We went over, and I posted that in the Facebook group, by the way. We went over our post-earnings strategy, which will be super, super key to us bringing home the bag during earnings season. A lot of people, like earnings season, but they like it in order to play earnings, right? In order to get option contracts and swing them through earnings. But that is a very, very risky thing to do. A lot of times, you despite how much research you do, you can't come up, with an effective analysis, right? And one that pans out where you're like, oh, okay, based off of what I've seen and what I've read, so-and-so is likely to beat earnings or so-and-so is likely to miss. Because companies can miss, the stock can still go up. Companies can beat, the stock can still go down, right? The guidance, the outlook moving forward matters a lot more than their current company report card does. So it's just very, very risky to play earnings. You could have a move in the same direction that you predicted, but it's not large enough in magnitude to overcome the cost of that contract, right? There's something called implied volatility, where they factor the fact that that stock can have a big move into the price of the contract. It's like if you went to buy a lottery ticket, and that lottery ticket has a higher chance of being a multi-million or billion-dollar winner, so they charge you $10,000 for the lottery ticket, right? So when you lose, it really sucks. But you had a high chance of there being a big move, but the fact that they charge you for that, big winning up front, it sucks and it hurts you, and it's like a gut punch. So how do you avoid all that? You wait for earnings to be over, and then you utilize our post-earnings continuation strategy, which brought us 100% profit on Tesla yesterday and brought us 40% profit on Netflix yesterday, right? And it's brought us up to 1,000% profit before, i.e. on Meta and on Apple. So it's an amazing strategy that I love to use because you get to leave all of the risk of playing earnings and holding something through earnings at the door, right? You wait for the event to happen and then you capitalize on the movement afterwards. So it's great. And it's something where you don't really have to worry as much about IV crush or anything like that. And it's something that we'll be able to use a lot over the course of the next few weeks with all these big earnings coming up for these companies. Now, in terms of top news here, graphite curbs. After choking exports of chip-making metals gallium and germanium, China is stepping up its efforts to maintain its manufacturing dominance by restricting exports of graphite, a key material used in electric vehicle batteries. I thought it was just for mechanical pencils. Beijing's move comes just days after Washington unveiled new restrictions on AI chip exports to China. Now, digging deeper, Beijing will require special export permits for 3 grades of graphite starting December 1st, the Ministry of Commerce and the General Administration of Customs said. Temporary controls on 5 less sensitive graphite items used in industries such as steel, metallurgy, and chemicals were dropped. The new curbs are, quote, conducive to ensuring the security and stability of the global supply chain and conducive to better safeguarding national security and interests, the ministry said. It clarified that it was not targeting any particular country. Top buyers of graphite from China include the U.S., South Korea, Japan, and India. In terms of the bigger picture, the U.S. has been targeting China's access to advanced technologies over national security concerns, with the Biden administration issuing rules in September to regulate U.S. investments in China in semiconductors and microelectronics, quantum information technologies, and of course, artificial intelligence. Beijing is pushed back by leveraging its dominance over certain materials. To note, China is the top graphite producer and exporter. It also refines over 90% of the world's graphite into the anode material used in EV batteries, the largest component by weight in such batteries. So lithium is something we talk about a lot, but we see here graphite, also a very important natural resource when it comes to battery production, empowering the future. Ivan Lamb, senior analyst at Counterpoint Research, does not expect a major impact in the near term as graphite exports haven't been completely banned, but he said the materials prices will likely increase due to supply and demand imbalances, including Russia, which was once a major graphite supplier. CLSA's Christopher Richter said it would be a bold step to cut the world off from graphite, as that would likely bring EVs to a halt everywhere and probably escalate tensions between China, the US, and Europe, which, by the way, are already at decade all-time highs. You want to talk about stocks at all-time highs? We have war tension at all-time highs. So this just a further, albeit incremental, escalation in the global geopolitical tension that's currently mounting here, right, as we speak. I posted on my story about how, there were missiles that were shot down by some U.S. aircraft carrier, right, and there was a drone attack on a U.S. base in Syria. You really start to see the writing on the wall bit by bit as you tune into sessions like this to get 1% better, right? Tuning into the pre-market prep session, nothing really ever truly comes out of nowhere. There's always some type of writing on the wall, some type of events that lead up to it, that mount, right? That cascade on top of each other, and then they cause the large headline events that we see on the news. Same thing with the Israel-Gaza situation, right? There were tons of events leading up to that caused that crazy escalation. So it's important to just recognize that you don't want to be an ostrich with your head in the sand. You want to make sure that you're each and every day not just being a hamster on the hamster wheel and living in your own little bubble, but taking in unbiased, agnostic information in order to get a full picture of what's going on in the world. That way you can take proactive positioning, right, in markets, and make sure you're doing what you can to help your family. You might say, Adam, what are you trying to do? Profit off of negativity? There are tons of negative things that pervade throughout the world, and each and every building block of society contributes to those things. If you go to work for a big tech companies still perpetuate the same disconnect when it comes to quality of life that any other company does. You go to work for a food company, obesity is a huge problem in the US, right? You go and work for a water company, there's all this stuff in water that shouldn't be in water. There's water that's not even natural water, right? There's all these different things that you can point to say this adds to something negative. If you don't want to add to something that hurts someone else, you literally just have to lay down and die, right? So I don't take that argument at all to heart going into things like the stock market, because at the end of the day, these things will happen regardless. You have to put food on the table for those that you love. So whether it's war that breaks out, whether it's a virus that sweeps over the world, right? Whatever happens, you have to provide for your family in spite of that. You're not going to look down at your 3-year-old son who's sitting there hungry and say, oh, sorry, son, I'm taking a moral stand actually against all the inequity in the world. And, I'm just not doing anything, because it would always hurt something. Even when you take a shower, you commit a genocide. You're wiping thousands, millions of microorganisms off the surface of your skin, right? So you literally can't take a step without doing something morally wrong. Therefore, what you need to focus on, instead of just going through, brain shortages, right? A brain short out by trying to avoid all the different ways that you can hurt someone or something, focus on providing positive experiences for those that you love, right? That's all you can do. So I say all that to say that when you pay attention to what's going on in the world and what's going on in markets, it allows you to proactively position yourself to take advantage of what's happening instead of getting swept over, right? You don't want to be a casualty. You want to be a testimony, right? You don't want to be a casualty of what's happening in the world. You want to be someone that says, hey, I saw what was happening. I took the necessary precautions. I positioned in advance, and I was able to weather the storm, right? I don't care how high gas prices go. We, made great money on gas yesterday, ExxonMobil, right? For what, 65, 70% profit? I don't care how high food prices go, gas prices go. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing my best job as a human in order to compensate for those things, put food on the table, and accomplish my goals and dreams. Right. And if you feel the same way, throw a 3 in the chat. But that's where I'm at. But because that's where we want to be at, we've got to make sure that we're here paying attention to the little bits of writing on the wall. Because unfortunately, the probability of us erupting into a world war pushed to 50% over the weekend. Do I want that to happen? Absolutely not. Am I going to knock on wood every time at the thought of it? Yes. But at the same time, you cannot rule out very real probabilities when you have multiple different players at work here in all the conflicts that are going on, right? The Russia-Ukraine conflict, we've got a number of world powers at play. This Israel conflict that we have going on is being renewed. We have multiple world powers at play. And I think that it's only a matter of time when they do digging and they figure out, okay, who supplied these weapons to where? Where did these weapons come from? Who? And then it's like, oh, Russia, China, like you guys had a role in this, right? And then things explode. So the possibility is there, and you just don't want to be an ostrich and put your head in the sand. Just be aware of it, and that way you can do the best that you can in order to navigate it. Now, in terms of energy news, Outlook slashed. Solar Edge Technologies, ticker SEDG, plunged 21.2% post-market on Thursday after slashing its outlook, citing substantial unexpected cancellations and push-outs of existing backlog from European distributors due to higher inventory and much slower installation rates. As a result, Solar Edge's Q3 earnings will come in below the low end of its prior guidance, with much lower revenue expected in Q4 amid inventory destocking. The outlook dragged other solar stocks, including Enphase Energy, ticker ENPH, down 13.6%, and Sunrun down 6.9%. SA Quant previously flagged the risk of Solar Edge performing badly, while investing group leader JR Research detailed why investors are better off staying on the sidelines. So solar, right? Really a form of alternative energy that I've been a big fan of because they just have so many more developments, right, in kind of research on the solar front, right? They just continuously make it cheaper, easier to install, more accessible, whereas, things like wind energy and all that haven't had the same results, haven't had the same developments. But overall, the solar, sector really taking a dump here just off of the back of Solar Edge Technologies citing unexpected cancellations and pushing out of existing backlog, right? So it really just sounds like kind of slower installation rates, right? Higher inventory. So it just sounded like people aren't wanting solar right now. It might be that because of the economy, right? This might be something that's going on, but it just sounds like people aren't wanting solar right now, and it's something that's affecting what was really the most popular form of alternative energy. And it's caused a lot of these companies to tank. So Sunrun, unfortunately, running right into the ground, it seems like, along with Solar Edge Technologies and ENPH, Enphase Energy, which is it's kind of a pseudo meme stock ticker that people like to deal with sometimes. Now, in terms of regulation news, net neutrality. The Federal Communications Commission has launched a new pursuit to revise regulation of broadband providers by advancing a proposed rule that would reestablish net neutrality. This has been the FCC's approach from early 2015 until 2017, when it was repealed by Trump-era FCC Chair Ajit Pai. Now, a Democratic majority at the agency is reversing that approach. Related stocks include Comcast, Charter Communications, AT&T, and Verizon. AT&T CEO John Stankey, in an earnings call, said the firm would participate in the process with the FCC constructively, but warned against taking early 1900s regulation and applying it against the internet. Now, in terms of healthcare news, shelving wow, let's try that again. In terms of healthcare news, shelving phenylphrine. I think that's how you pronounce it, or phenylephrine. Phenylephrine, that's what it looks like, maybe. CVS Health, ticker CVS, is pulling over-the-counter cold and cough medicines containing controversial decongestant phenylephrine after a panel of FDA advisors last month agreed that the drug doesn't work. The move comes as CVS and other OTC drug makers and retailers face mounting lawsuits related to the drug's effectiveness. The lawsuits have named companies including CVS, Walgreens Boot, whose ticker is WBA, Kenvue, whose ticker is KVUE, and Walmart, whose ticker is WMT. The FDA has yet to formally order the medicines containing phenylephrine Phenylephrine, I've got no idea. Be removed from shelves, though it usually follows the advice of its advisory committees. Nasal sprays containing phenylephrine do not appear to be an issue. That's good, because I've definitely been having to take some nasal sprays. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm pretty congested. There is a bug, going around. Everybody, so thus far, and like all of my group chats, is fighting it off. And I was much more dealing with it last week than this week. You guys remember me doing all my live streams and Q&As with cough drops in my mouth. Doing much better now, but still fighting some congestion. So hopefully, whatever this P word is, phenylephrine, they said that it hasn't been an issue in nasal sprays, which is good, but kind of more bad news for Walgreens, which has been just caught up in really a whirlwind and kind of a maelstrom of bad news over the course of the past few months, between it going to war with California, and all the other things that ensued. Just not a great look for Walgreens as of recent. Let's see what we got going on here. Tried to continue the scroll, and it looks like I might be frozen here on this screen. Let's see if we can pull up on the phone. Not going to let that adversity stop us. Let's pull up what we're talking about here on the good old cellular. Awesome. All right. So in terms of today's markets, looking majority red across the board with some green specks. In Asia, we're down 0.5%. In Japan, Hong Kong down 0.7, China down 0.7, India down 0.4. In London, we're down almost a full percent. Paris down 1.2%. Frankfurt down 1.3%. The Dow down 0.3%. S&P down 0.3%. NASDAQ down 0.3%. As of when this newsletter came out. Crude up 1.2%. Not a surprise. Gold up 0.8%. Bitcoin up 5.3% to 29K, 29,916. In terms of today's economic calendar, not looking like anything too important. We might have something around 10:30. Let's see. I'd have to wait for this machine to get it rocking and rolling. I did get the HDMI attachment that I need for my MacBook to start using that. So I might have to make the transition over from my, my dad's old laptop, which I love dearly. Big sentimental person. But this thing is old. I don't even think they make laptops this big anymore, and the age is starting to show, unfortunately. So I'll ride it into the ground. But for right now, she's struggling. But I have like literally 3 other laptops that are much newer than this one. But I just continue to use it because I like it. But I might have to make that switch over to Mac soon, which I don't like, because Thinkorswim looks different on Mac as well. And I'm just used to how it looks on PC. In terms of what else is happening, we'll finish up here with our rapid fire stock news rundown. Jerome Powell, uncertainties complicate Fed's job of reducing inflation. Apparently, he needed to be escorted out of his statement yesterday where he made a speech because people were booing and things like that. Toyota, ticker TM, inks deal with Tesla for NACS charging standard. So another win for Tesla, right? I've been talking about that for a number of months with Tesla. Making sure that even though they're kind of finding themselves in the same situation as Netflix with the streaming wars, when those started to heat up, they're taking smart preemptive action that you would expect from Elon Musk, which is making sure that their company is integral to the infrastructure of that sector, right? They made sure to devote a lot of resources toward building up their charging network so that if you do want to use another electric car, you will be charging it at Tesla networks, which is what Netflix should have done in terms of like, I don't know, maybe buying up data centers, right, from Amazon, something like that, becoming like a cloud computing provider, doing something that would be necessary for all these other, companies to take advantage of when it came to them catching up to you in the streaming wars. Crude rises as U.S. forces thwart attacks, purchases for SPR planned. Long-term yields power on. U.S. 10-year hits 5% for first time in 16 years. U.S. and Europe still unable to reach steel deal, risking return of tariffs. Jazz Pharmaceuticals, ticker JAZZ, exploring strategic options, including sale. Deutsche Bank, U.S. cash outperforms major global fixed income assets. And then Moody's, Israel's debt rating on review for downgrade as war escalates. And then CGen, ticker SGEN, ticks higher as EU approves $43 billion sale to Pfizer. Then Rite Aid investors to get $192.5 million as Walgreens settles buyout suit. So Walgreens once again in the hot seat and struggling, like I just mentioned. But that'll wrap us up, put a bow on it, and take us out here for this morning's pre-market prep session. Let's see if I can even switch back over to to the live streaming window. I might not even be able to do that, right? I don't know. We might just be stuck. But hopefully the stream is still going on. Otherwise, I feel like somebody would have messaged me. That'll wrap us up and take us out. It's been a great week thus far. We're heading into earnings season. Make sure that you are, prepped and ready to go when it comes to executing these post-earnings plays. And make sure you're here getting 1% better each and every morning when it comes to going over market news, analysis, laying the landscape for the week, and executing in order to make sure that our money is the hardest working person that we know. Watch out for the content that's dropping daily. If you struggle with charting, you want to look to get your foot in the door and get started understanding what all this means when it comes to reading charts, reading candlesticks, and really reading the language of money. Go to chartwithconfidence.com and get the recordings from that last masterclass that we held. It'll illuminate a lot of things and allow you to keep up with a lot more and take advantage of a lot more opportunities when it comes to markets. So without further ado, I'll see you guys next week. Have a great and safe weekend. I might have to legit power down my laptop in order to end this stream, but that's where we're at. So I'll see you later. Have a great weekend. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.